So YCS Bolivia concluded yesterday, and for once, actually, there's very little to talk about here. So from what I've seen, there were only 260 players in that YCS, making it the 4th smallest YCS of all time. With such a small amount of players, there were only 8 rounds of Swiss before proceeding to top 32 playoffs. So in other words, this is one of the very few YCSs where you can have 5 wins, 2 losses, and a draw and still make it. As a matter of fact, the guy who got 32nd squeezed in with that score. So to put that into perspective, if you were a UDS champion like Jesse Cotton, for example, all you would need would be 3 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw to top a YCS. This basically means that topping that YCS would have been easier to top like a locals, for example. Because you see some locals, you can go 3-2 and still not top. Kinda wild, to be honest. Now, even though topping the YCS didn't look too difficult, winning it definitely is. Once you're in Top Cut, you're basically only facing the best players from South America, and they all wanted the same thing. And that is to win, of course. Every round gets progressively more and more difficult, and obviously people play real decks. With that said, the deck that ended up winning this YCS was Mechanico, out of everything. At the current moment, we know very little about the deck list that the winner of the YCS actually played, but we do know a few things about the Mechanico deck thanks to It's Your Boy Eddeception from YCS Indianapolis. Shoutouts to you, my man. So basically, we know 2 things for a fact. First things first, the Mechanical deck is extremely good going second at breaking boards and also OT King because they can reflect the damage to their opponents. It also inherently plays through interruptions because a Fury protects all of your mechanical cards from being targeted by your opponent's card effects. This can single-handedly render useless pretty much the entire Rescue strategy because all of their cards target. The same can be said with Tear Elements. I mean, it's gonna shut down like the Field Spell to pop, the Solic to negate, basically everything. So yeah, in other words, this deck is very good against the 2 best decks of the format, so yeah, no shit, it's doing well right now. Anyways, the second thing that we know about Mechanico is that even though it is kind of like a good going second deck, it is still decent going first. So the deck typically runs 3 Mechanico equip spells. We've got Arabesque, the best one, as well as Mayo Washidori and Fire Dance. This means that this deck can naturally play Isolde without having to play like bad cards in order to make it work. But if you want to, you can easily play Axe of Fools, and if you draw it, it's not like you can say that it's bad, because it is actually a way to negate monster effects going second. Now, you might be thinking, but Yaksign, why would you want to play Isolde in the first place? The answer is quite simple. If you can send the 3 equip spells from your deck to the graveyard with the effect of Isolde, you can summon Gen and Ken. They are not just good in decks like Dark World, but also in this deck. These monsters are warriors and level 3s, which open up the door to a lot of possibilities. Thanks to these monsters, you are drawing more cards, making your opponent discard cards, and also forcing your opponent to use monster effects and also giving a body to your opponent. So this turns on triple tactic talents even if your opponent doesn't play a single hand trap, which increases the consistency of power of this deck going first. But also you're turning Change of Heart into an extender going first and also a board breaker and an extender going second. Now, the real reason why Gen and Ken are broken in this deck is because, again, because of the fact that you're giving a monster to your opponent, you can easily abuse nasty shenanigans with Acid Golem of Destruction. Since your opponent would be controlling a monster either with Gen or Ken or Fire Dance, you could Xyz summon Acid Golem of Destruction and then go for Geonator Transverser and then give control of the Acid Golem to your opponent and then steal your opponent's monster. So in other words, when you're going first, you're locking your opponent out of special summoning thanks to Acid Golem. And when you're going second, you're cracking boards and you're OT King with the damage reflection effects of the mechanical monsters. Yeah, not too bad, huh? And it's not like this deck lost a Dweller or Shifter, so it's actually very well positioned in this format. And I want to say this deck definitely looks like it gives off kinda Rika-esque vibes because nobody really knows what the cards do. I mean, come on, everybody laughs when they hear about Mechanico, but now it's actually getting scary. And I'm not saying that only because we're in Halloween. I mean, seriously, take a look at Arabesque. This card is ridiculous going second. As a matter of fact, that card is so ridiculous that people were even splashing a Mechanico engine in decks generically going second in order to just increase their power level. Basically, with this card, you're bouncing back an opponent's monster and then you're special summoning a Mechanico from your deck and then you're getting an equip spell. And that equip spell can actually generate you more advantage. All of that with one single card without having to commit your normal summon and with basically no drawbacks whatsoever. You're not locked under Mechanico only. To put that into perspective, with Water Arabesque, you can bounce back an opponent's monster and then summon the Fire Mechanico and then get your Reflection Rondo and steal yet again another opponent's monster. Or you could go for the Wind Mechanico and then search the trap card. This is hands down one of the best decks to play if you like to capitalize off of your opponent's misplays. And again, just like Rika, it definitely is really good at preying on people's ignorance. Now, the real question is Mechanco truly that good inherently, or is it just Copium and just a good meta call, but it's not that great? So I do believe that Mechanco is a decent deck, but it's not a super great deck because once you figure out the flaws of the deck, it's kind of easy to beat. The deck can brick hard because at the end of the day, it is Mechanco, and if you force them to go first and they don't have the full combo, they're not doing much. And even if they have the combo, all they're really doing is Acid Golem, and there's a lot of outs to that. Very similar to Ibli, you can go Forbidden Droplet or Enemy Controller to send it or Tribute Summon on top. They're not gonna end on Acid Golem and 10 negates. They're only going to give you the Acid Golem and then end on a couple of cards in hand and have a good follow-up. And imagine giving an Acid Golem to a Flundereeze player. Doesn't feel good at all, huh? A lot of decks have inherent answers to the Mechanco strategy because, yet again, the deck is not really designed to be that great going first. It's basically just a going second deck that can go first thanks to Gen and Ken generating them so much advantage. Because if it wasn't for those cards, then the deck would be so incredibly inconsistent that it would still be a going second deck. Even though this is a Mechanco deck, it's actually only playing like a couple of Mechanco cards and it's playing like billions of staples and tech cards. Because honestly, there's not even that many Mechanco cards in the archetype to begin with. We've only got 3 main deck monsters and then 1 ritual monster. All of them are pretty good, but the water one I don't think I would be main decking because it's especially good when you're going first to interrupt your opponent. And then for the equip spells, almost all of them are pretty good, but the best one is by far Arabesque. The trap card is extremely good at interrupting your opponent, and also it has very good recursion in the graveyard. And the quick play allows you to cheat out the ritual monster, which is extremely good on your opponent's turn and also on your own turn. On your own turn, it's just another card that allows the OTK by reflecting the damage. And then on your opponent's turn, it can be an interruption if you're using the quick effect on field to equip the Reflection Rondo to an opponent's monster to take control of it. Again, the graveyard does not really matter that much when you are playing Mechanco, so if you do get hit by Duel or Shifter, it's not really the end of the world. So yeah, keep an eye out on this deck and make sure that you have answers for the board going first and also going second. Otherwise, there might be a world in which this deck wins yet again another YCS. Anyways, that's pretty much all I had for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know your thoughts about Mechanco in the comment section below. Do you think it is the best deck of the format? Or do you think it sucks and people just don't know how to play against it? Alright, with that said, I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.